everybody, this is Everyday Commentary, and this is a video overview of this knife. This knife is the Gareth Bull Shamwari, and it is a front flipper, and it is a titanium frame lock. And you can see here that it has a pivot collar, a blue pivot collar, that acts as a over travel stop. It has a sculpted titanium pocket clip. It has custom pivot, which I'm not a huge fan of, but then it runs torque spits. The knife overall is extremely simple. No thumb stud, no flipper tab here, no thumb hole. In fact, it opens with a front flipper. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. You can kind of roll it like that, which is really hard on your thumb. You can give it one of these to open it up slow. Or if you really want to, you can flick it like that. So there's a bunch of different ways to open this knife. And all of them are really kind of fun to play with. This is a really fun knife to fidget with. It's also a really well-made knife. And as you can see, Gareth crams a ton of blade thickness into the handle. This is a very thin knife with a relatively thick blade. As you can see, the centering is really quite good. Let me see if I can get it so that the camera is dead on. So the centering is quite good. The knife has a little run of jimping up here. It has a deep hollow grind. Not quite as deep as the hollow grind on my Una, but pretty deep. And then there's Gareth's little signature or trademark. The knife runs N690 steel, and it is in no small part a sort of product of where it was created. Gareth is a custom knife maker who lives in South Africa. South Africa is where burger knives are, and it's where Chris Reeve came from. So in a way, you can kind of see this knife as, you know, the merging of those two ideas. This is very much a Sebenza-like knife. It's extremely smooth. It's extremely well put together. There's no blade play. The lockup is incredibly solid. Everything about this knife is just smooth and simple, much like the Sebenza. But a lot of the custom makers in South Africa have taken to these front flippers. In fact, the Boker Excellamore is based on the burger knives design. And that knife is a really, really nice custom front flipper. The Boker is not so great. I didn't like it as much. But this is basically the burger front flipper design and the Sebenza clean, simple blade and put together. And the end result is one heck of a knife. There's a couple of really cool touches. So you can see here that the edge of the knife, the top spine of the knife, is chamfered, and that chamfering really does a great job of bringing this tip to a really nice point. It's not so thin and pointy like, you know, a Kershaw leak where you're worried about it getting dinged or dented, but it is really thin. In addition, the high hollow grind gives you a very thin edge behind the actual cutting bevel, making this knife a great slicer. A couple of other really nice touches. You can see right here that there's the tab that engages the lock bar, and it is absolutely perfectly flush with the lock bar. There are a couple of places on knives where the lock bar interface is not exactly comfortable, that this is a big gap, and it does create a hot spot. But here, the transition is almost seamless. It's so tight and so well cut that it's almost seamless, and so when it's in your hand, you can't feel anything. It's just incredible. The other thing that's really nice about this knife is that even though it's a titanium pocket clip, it's not one of those gaudy, giant titanium pocket clips. It's really quite subtle, and it's chamfered. And so the chamfering, again, makes this thing basically disappear in your hand. I would note that even though this knife is only a day old, and it has already broken in significantly, that when it came to me, the lock bar was sticky. I put a little pencil lead in there, and it started to work its magic, so I'm not too worried about that. The other thing that's really nice about this knife is if you see right there, come on, right there, The jimping that is used to activate the front flipper is also jimping that is functional, in that the spine of the knife, it sticks out from the handle just a tiny bit, and that gives you a real purchase on the knife when you're using it to cut things. Overall, I'm really pleased with this knife. It's an excellent titanium frame lock, and even though it is a titanium frame lock flipper, it's very different than the regular titanium flippers out there. The other thing is Gareth does things a little differently than most custom knife makers. He functions more like a custom flashlight maker in that he produces knives in runs. So in 2012 or 2013, he did a run for British Blade Forum. I think it's called just British Blades, and he had 12 or 20 knives, I forget. This is part of the first run of the 3.25 inch Shamwaris that he's doing. This was number 5. I had originally bought one in the second batch, and then somebody backed out, and so Gareth offered me this one. As of the recording of this video, which I think is March 26, 2015, his books are still open, so if you want to go and try to get on one of these knives, it's a really good buy. And the knife was $550, which is more than a Sebenza, but it is a custom knife, and it is a very unique custom knife. So I'd highly recommend it. I mean, it's a great carry knife. It's very slim, very slender. He packs a ton of blade length in here. If you look at the knife, it's the blade length is just about the same as the cutting edge is just about the same as the blade on a paramilitary, but the handle is significantly shorter. He does a good job packing lots of blade. I mean, you can see he's like right at the tip, so you can't poke your finger on anything. There's no sharp edges, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's a very nice, clean, elegant knife. It's a good folder. He was making a larger one, a 3.5 inch folder, but I like the 3.25 inch one, especially because it carries like a 3 inch knife. So this is a video overview of the Gareth Bull Shamwari, and a review will be up sometime. Not soon, but sometime on everydaycommentary.com. Thanks.